Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have IOTA on our radar today in this video. IOTA being definitely actually in my top 5 portfolio holding and also top 5 of favorite projects or indeed crypto assets out there in the blockchain sphere. Utilizing the DAG protocol, direct acyclic graph. This is the mechanism of the future of blockchain, the evolution, I always call this particular kind of project. Before we go into a bit more depth of some of the updates recently, do check out the other videos on the channel as well. Loads of different projects, assets, discussions, topics, you name it, we have it. So go check those out when you get some time. But yeah, today's video, IOTA. Couple of quick pointers for this update video. We have the IOTA staking update. This started literally around a week ago. For those that have been doing this before, do check out our video, which I'll leave at the end of this one, about how to stake IOTA and of course how you get the IOTA tokens anyway from your exchanges to the IOTA Firefly wallet, because you can take advantage of the assembly token staking. This is the protocol mechanism behind IOTA for the TANGLE system, very much around the operating of the future of TANGLE and the ability of potential feeless, yes that is feeless transactions, or indeed actions in general, which we'll touch on shortly again as a point of reference, because this is always something I'd like to hammer home. There was also the Shimmer token, but this is not on a staking round right now. But for sure, you want to get involved in this over the sort of next year or so, whatever's left. I think this started beginning of this year, actually, if I remember correctly, doing the videos around December 2021 for how to stake IOTA for Assembly and Shimmer back then. And I'm pretty sure the process is supposed to be for 2 years at least. So yeah, this particular one, round 4, will be ending on the 5th of February. So plenty of time, guys, for you to get your IOTA token, onto the Firefly wallet and get staking for those assembly tokens. So this is really exciting stuff, and for sure something you want to get involved with. Like I said, go check out the video of how to do that at the end of this one. But yeah, just mentioning quickly a moment ago about this whole TANGLE DAG protocol system of IOTA. Now, these guys are heavily involved with things like the European Commission at the moment, trying to essentially enhance the evolution of blockchain. What we mean by this is the ability for like autonomous aspects, automation, AI based on algorithms, supply, demand, all this data. Even to things like, I love this example of a drone perhaps going to harvest or seed a farm area based on the algorithm of supply and demand from people's produce, buying behaviors, seasonal activity, all this kind of thing, or even things taken out of the fridge. All of these represent an action, and the transaction comes from the ability for either a payment to be made or an action of transfer of information and data for something to be processed. So when we talk about this concept, it's very interesting to me, but this will be applicable to anything and everything you could possibly think of, especially when it's related to internet, IoT, Internet of Things, the smart home, the smart grid, all these fancy smart city words that we've heard over the last few years. The ultimate goal was to be powered by blockchain, and specifically, arguably, by DAG systems in general, because of the ability for it to basically cross-reference all the transactions simultaneously within milliseconds for next to nothing energy consumption, pretty much feeless as well, and the speed of which you could do these. Imagine how many people there are in the world and how many transactions per second are being done. This is quite significant to think about it this way. Every move that you do, purchasing, buying, ordering, it could be something to do with medical supply, or as I said, about food, agriculture, transportation in terms of energy from your car, wireless charging, moving autonomous cars through streets in the years to come, and then being paid for via tokenization. All this stuff, guys, is really fascinating. And this is the kind of technology and protocol behind what's going to be achieved in the coming years and decades to come too. So really interesting and really important to understand that. The other point I'm making about this as well is the element of energy. Now, this is one of my other favorite topics about blockchain and crypto in general. We cover the likes of Energy Web Foundation, Power Ledger, and a few other projects too. We even covered Hedera touching on this kind of thing before as well. But you'll see here, for example, the aspect I just mentioned about the European Commission. Of course, many of these countries, including here in the UK, we've had a lot of rollouts of smart meters over the last 5-6 years, maybe slightly longer than that. I can't remember when it all began. But of course, there's still a few discrepancies around smart meters in terms of like data, privacy, all of these things, security potentially. Some may even go as far as saying they were potential emitters of certain data or things towards our minds. But we'll leave that for another day, that conversation. But the main point being is the mechanism of energy, carbon credits, etc., being able to be utilized with Web3 technology, and in particular what we're talking here about Tangle. Now, we just mentioned about supply and demand and transactions and the speed of which this is all interlaced, guys. And there's actually some really good points and keywords in here. For example, about being a prosumer. We talked about this many times in all the energy related blockchain crypto videos that we do. This means, or the ability in the near future, to essentially remove yourself if you wanted to go down this route from the centralized systems of smart the existing national grids and things like that. We can move ourselves from that, use Web3 protocol, use things like our own batteries for our homes, solar panels, etc. But any surplus energy we could pass to each other through carbon credits via Web3, and give each other energy, still get paid for it, but with caps, with transparency, honesty, with everything. Because at the moment, of course, you've got like the standard rates being ridiculously high, energy in general is really high, and we don't know what's going on with the brokers and how they're buying the stuff off the the big companies or the networking grids that actually create the energy in the first place. There's no transparency to consumers. We just pay the bills, we pay higher and higher bills, and we don't really know what's going on. So I'm a really big believer and certainly an advocate for Web3 orientated energy. However, it really depends on how far we take this and how much education we give to ourselves for this. Because if we don't, we will slip into the pattern like we do with everything else and just say, do you know what, National Grid or whatever, you do this, I'll be on Web3. But then there's a complication, guys, because if we look at things like CBDCs, centralized systems, there is always the potential opportunity and fear mechanism that they could turn this on and off as and when they please. And it could be down to the instance, like a lot of people talk about this, guys, about CBDCs and things in the future. Potentially the opportunity for, if you don't do something or you're not following certain rules, they'll switch it off. And that applies to finance, and it could apply to energy as well. And we've also got these big narratives going around at the moment about basic universal income. Own nothing and be happy. That's the whole concept, really, of what's coming in the years to come, which is why I'm so excited about blockchain to an extent, because we have an opportunity to take control of it as a public entity, if you like, to make the better world, to make it more equal and more diverse. But if it goes into the wrong hands, we're just going to be worse off than we are today. So there's some really big things to think about, guys, in all of this aspect. But main point about this is that, of course, IOTA, being the system that it is, the ability and the power that it has for now and the future, could be very interesting indeed when it comes to distributed ledger technology within energy criteria systems worldwide. So these are really big applications, guys. Obviously, one arm of what IOTA is capable of, but certainly a huge market and opportunity for everyone, not just to potentially invest in tokenization of it and utility, but actually utilize the system in the right ways. So guys, think about that. In the meantime, we're going to switch directly over to the chart of IOTA. Now, it's had a bit of flex here in the last few days. Obviously, the FTX nonsense over the last 48 hours has helped this come down slightly. Now, I've been waiting for IOTA to come down a bit more for some time. I've been buying IOTA around this sort of 27, 25 cent mark, And finally, over the last few days, it's been hitting that 20 cent mark, an absolute sweet spot for me. Could it come lower? Of course, there's always opportunity for that. If we look at historic data of IOTA, like we do with many of the charts at the moment, we always have this big black hole, I call it, the black crypto hole. This is really a huge area of interest because there is no evidence or proper data to suggest the exact support and resistance lines of what they should be. So at the moment, we're toying around with this marker just over 20 cents. However, there are opportunities for this to come down lower, as I mentioned before. And in fact, if I just, for example, drag this most recent sort of macro fib retracement level down to previous levels that we're trying to look at, there is an opportunity potentially, if Bitcoin does reduce itself again, possibly back down to 15 or even lower, we could see IOTA being dragged down to that sort of 15 cent mark as well. So for me, IOTA, I've been purchasing at all sorts of various prices, even when it went over $1, guys, because for me, this project is huge. Anything under $5 for the long term in IOTA, in my opinion, is an absolute steal. But of course, yes, right now, I'm taking the huge advantages of these lower areas. Dollar cost averaging with the ambition to try and potentially grab some, as I said, at these lower regions, just above 15 cents and just above 10 cents as well. So I'm keeping an eye on them. Those are limit orders already in my KuCoin account. This is where I purchased the IOTA. And someone did ask in the comments, by the way, what exchanges I use. I use IOTA on KuCoin, but I literally immediately, once it's in the exchange in my account, move it across to the IOTA Firefly via my ledger. I just feel a lot safer there, and obviously taking advantage of the staking opportunities for Assembly and potentially Shimmer again if they do open that one up again as well. So in that principle, these are my markers that I've got limit orders for on KuCoin right now. But as I said, I'm doing some manual purchases around this 20 cent mark also. So we'll see if these lower ones play out. If they do, fantastic, because I really want to accumulate as much IOTA as possible over the next year or two, or certainly before the next major big bull runs. Okay. So last few valid points here at the end. As you can see, we're in a bit of a selling market right now, as we have been for majority of the assets we've seen on the channel here on the Wells of Wall Street. 3 days of quite significant value drops in IOTA, or volume drops, sorry. If we look in the patterns on the way back, it's kind of mirroring really probably what's come in over the last month or so. So I'm not too surprised about this, but what's going to happen as well, guys, is these kind of markets, people tend to just follow money, and a lot of people don't have disposable income to just keep chucking money and capital from their bank into this. So they tend to move money about within their own portfolio system. And we've seen that happen a lot, transfers of money. You can even see via the addresses, if you go into the smart contracts and everything, of like where this money's going. Of course, a lot of people follow the Bitcoin and some other ones as well. So it's not a surprise to me. We did have a bit of retaliation yesterday, creeping IOTA back upwards, kind of basically mirroring what we had dropped down with the day before. But you can now see with pretty much every asset right now is pretty much trying to move its way back down again. And this is where I see the pattern going. Not trying to be negative or anything like that, but we have to look at the data here. We're in a big gap here on the MACD, suggesting that this is going potentially down back to that 20 cent area and maybe even lower. We'll have to see. And if it breaks that 20 cents, as I said, it's probably going to be in correlation with Bitcoin's movements as well, along with other assets in the market. On the RSIs, 14 days showing 40 and 28 days showing 42. These are really good buy points for me in general. That's why I'm doing my manual purchases right now. But yes, absolutely, if we get another repeat like we did a couple of days ago, where we see the 14-day coming down to the 30-odd region, I'll be snapping that up for sure, and certainly automatically with the limit orders. Same with the 28-day coming down to 35 a couple of days ago. It's now retracted back to 42. But we're in a really sticky situation right now, guys, with the whole entire market. Do not go all in, please, because that's a huge risk. Take it day by day, but also assess where we could be going and have orders in various different positions, because this is a safe way and a less risk-free way for sure. You don't know where the bottoms are, you don't know where the tops are, but for sure we can at least accumulate the best we can in my opinion. So that's where we are with it. That's where I am with IOTA. And you see on the right hand side here as well, in terms of performance indicators, 10% down on the week, 13% down on the month. That's not too bad, to be honest, considering the market that we're in. But it's this year to date and year that's very repetitive across a lot of the assets out there right now. This is showing you the massive capability of gains in the long run. And IOTA for me is a big holder. I'm holding this at least till 2025 before I do something with it, and probably beyond that because of the mechanism. I know what DAG is capable of. And I'm not talking about Constellation, I'm talking about DAG, the technology and protocol in general. And I know exactly what IOTA is capable of as well in general too, and what they're doing around governments and the political sphere, the environmental sphere, and everything that they're trying to do with this Tangle system. It's going to be phenomenal, guys, and a game changer, in my opinion, for the evolution of blockchain and technology in general around the world. So really exciting stuff to come. I'm going to wrap that one up there, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you're doing with your IOTA. Have you been accumulating like I have? And are you looking at lower regions as well? Let us know what you think about any of that and anything IOTA related. If you've got any questions, throw them at me. Many people still don't know, but I've got diplomas and everything in blockchain cryptography. So if there's any technological questions or any questions in general about blockchain crypto, do shout them out in the comments. We'll also be doing hopefully some live shows over the weekend. Now I have fiber installed, can you believe it? Been waiting 5-6 years for that. So do get involved on that on there as well. Ask any questions live too. But until then, we're going to wrap this one up there. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Take care and bye bye.